Hello, beautiful moms and entrepreneurs. My name is Charisse Walker, and I'm your host of the Unbreakable Mompreneurs podcast. This is a place where we come together to learn, grow, and inspire. So sit back, relax, and let's get started. Hello, Unbreakable Mompreneurs. Are you feeling stressed, burned out, tired? Not a lot of energy. Well, today is your day because we're going to talk to Jennifer Gomez, and she is the Joyful Strategist. So my name is Charisse Walker, your host, and without further ado, Jennifer, why don't you introduce yourself to us?
Charisse, thank you so much for having me here today. It is such a joy to be here and to be able to talk to your audience because I know firsthand what it's like to not only be a mom, but also run a business alongside that. And there are days that it's not easy, and that's most days. So hopefully I can give some strategies today that help through those really low lows to make the high highs a little bit more consistent.
I love that, and it's timely because I'm not one of those that says, "Oh, I'm tired" or "I don't feel good." But let me tell you, this last week has been kicking my booty, and so I love that you're here so we can talk about that. But how did you get into it?
So I did not set out to be the joyful strategist at all. I will tell you that firsthand. And people had to kick me to make me realize, Jen, this is a superpower that you don't realize that you have, and you pour it into people without even knowing it. And so I had to, first of all, get to really understand myself and what I had gone through to get myself to the other side and the methodology that I had used to get myself there. And I'll be honest, I was trying to prove myself. I was trying to fit myself into a box of what everyone else, the career that people wanted me to be in. And I felt very lost. I felt very unfulfilled, although I was checking all of the boxes. We all have been there, right? Like we get married and we have the kids and we have the career. And I just found myself, anyone else feel this way, adding more to my plate?
Mhm.
And the one thing that I was really missing internally was joy. And I define joy as not an emotion, but a strategy for success in your life and in your business. And so when I really took a moment to say, wait a minute, where are my priorities lying? My kids were annoying me. My husband and I were fighting. And I was actually working on a contract for the governor of Louisiana. I ran the governor's mansion for 6 years out of their 8-year term, and I loved it. I was so happy with what I was doing, but I really wasn't internally joyful. I was honestly working too much. I was striving to be this picture perfect employee, and I was broken. I was really, really broken. And I made a really tough decision to take some time to get to know what really brings me joy, and that's spending time with my kids. But how could I spend time with my kids and really impact lives? And so that's when the journey to the joy method really was created. The first step was understanding what my purpose was. And I knew I had spent 20 years prior to going into operations and event planning as a stage actor. I was a stage actor for 20 years. And then if I went back even further of why I was a stage actor, it was because I loved to inspire people. I had a pretty rough childhood and was on my own at 17. My parents were just unstable, and I had to grow up very, very fast. And being on that stage was an opportunity for me to find joy in a way that wasn't around me.
Mhm.
And so they often say the thing that you give as an adult is the thing that you really wanted as a child. And so that was when it was like this massive wave. I just remember sitting in my bed after this contract had ended, just bawling. And my husband's like, "Are you okay?" I go, I'm shedding my old life. I'm gonna do something huge. Like I knew I was meant for something bigger. And I said, so many people are so unhappy. I have to bring joy to them. I don't know how I'm gonna do it, but I have to. And that was a few years ago. And so now I'm keynote speaking, writing a book, and coaching women on how to really redefine joy for their lives and give them that energy back so they can really influence those around them and their business and their life. So it's been quite a journey.
I absolutely love that because that's the whole purpose of this podcast is for that exact reason. There's somebody I was talking to last week and I used the word trapped. And it's not trapped, but it's trapped in your feeling like you cannot take control of your life. And that's not a place I ever want anybody to feel. And because of that, I love what you're doing. And it is so important because if you're not happy every single day that you get out of bed, then it's hard to get out of bed. And so if you figure out what your joy is, and kids, yes, kids give you that joy, they give you that purpose, they give you everything, but sometimes you get overwhelmed. And so tell me the type of people that you work with.
I typically work with people that have lost the control, like you said. They're like, I don't know what to do now. I'm not happy in my business. I'm not driven like I used to be. I'm not getting clients like I used to get them. I'm not getting the promotions. I'm not influencing the people that I used to influence. So either business owners, business leaders who had it all, but now feel like they've lost it all, like they have no purpose in their life. It's a lot of honestly women from the ages of like 35 to 45, which is so beautiful because I get to tell them, guess what? This is the middle of your life.
Yeah.
You now have the whole rest of your life ahead of you. So let's get really deep on what does make you feel energized, what does make you feel good, what does make you feel joyful, because it starts from the inside.
Mhm.
If we cannot own our energy and understand what's triggering us, which yes, comes from a lot of childhood trauma. So we talk a little bit about that. But what triggers us? Why is it triggering us? Why do we feel lost? Like really getting curious. So getting the clarity of what's going on. Why am I so unhappy? And then once we unlock that, then we go into the confidence of, okay, now I understand what's going on. I'm overworked, or I'm not being seen, or I'm not being heard, or my kids have driven me crazy. I need to take a little bit of a mom
Mhm.
staycation at a hotel for a night. I just need to go sit in a bath without my kids on top of me, right? And then we learn how to stay consistent
Mhm.
throughout that. And what I really, really, really love is seeing on the other side of working with my clients what they're able to accomplish.
Mhm.
And they look back, and because we have to detach ourselves from the results, right? It's not about the results, it's about finding gratitude in the ordinary. You said this before, like waking up and feeling happy, which it's so much deeper than that. It's waking up and putting your face to the sun and feeling so grateful to be alive, feeling so grateful that you have a roof over your head, that you have, it's literally in the molecular moments. How can you open up your scope of reality to say, okay, I didn't make that $10,000 offer, but it's okay. What have I endured before? What have I been through before? Detaching ourselves from the emotion of the result and moving forward. And then when we do get to that goal that we've set for ourselves, because goals are an ever moving goalpost, right? Like it's always moving. We're always saying, well, it's not good enough. It's not good enough. It's not good enough. When we almost treat life like a playground and say, it'd be a lot cooler if I got that. But if I didn't, it's okay. It's all part of the journey and just really appreciating that. But I've had clients most recently. I worked with one woman that just felt like she was pushing against a wall that wasn't moving with her job. Like she wasn't getting the promotion that she wanted. She wasn't getting seen. She wasn't getting heard. I call it emotional, mental, and physical clutter, right? What's the first thing that we want to do when we feel just overwhelmed? We want to clean our office,
Yeah.
right? We're like, if I just clean my office, I'll feel better. But that's only step one. You have to do mental and emotional decluttering as well, because as soon as you get the text message from the boss that's been passive aggressive toward you, what's going to happen? You're going to get the ick in the stomach. You're going to start having all these thoughts like, oh, I don't even want to respond to them. I don't want to go to work. And then what's happening there? Now you're bringing this honestly negative energy into work with you. Right. So what we did was we totally redirected her. We completely redirected her mindset, got her into a better place. And she walked into her annual review, asked for the promotion because what do? We ask. And not only did they say yes, but they gave her even a greater promotion. So
Wow.
instead of her just getting the promotion she wanted, she's now going into a secondary level
Mhm.
of promotion, which was pretty cool.
But I think that it has to start with yourself. Like she had to feel worthy, and I don't want to say worthy, that's not, but like she had to believe in herself. And if she doesn't, like she's not going to be able to persuade her bosses. And so for her to be able to clean up the mental clutter and get out of that, then she was able to move on to the next step. And I think so many times we get into our head and we can't break that ceiling because we're not ready to, or we haven't allowed ourselves. So once we can clear that, and we can rise and say, no, really, I'm deserving of this. And you can either take it or leave it. Like, if you don't give me this, I'm going somewhere else. You have a different persona around you. And because of that, people react to you differently. Like, I can tell you, I wrote a book and it's actually, we talk about flipping the iceberg. And it's exactly what you talk about. The first part is trying to heal yourself and get clear with yourself first. Because if you can't do that, then you're not going to make any healthy decisions. You're just not, whether that be professionally. I mean, my book focuses more on the personal relationships, but it really, you attract who you feel like you deserve. And I see that so many times. And so getting back to it, it's called a publicity summit. So I go and I pitch my book to several different people. And so day one, and this just happened last week, right? But day one, my internet wouldn't work. Like I'm mid-sentence and it was out. It was out. Like it never goes out. And it went out that entire day. So from 11:30 in the morning to like 4:30, I think, in the morning of the next day. And so I'm like madly, I log into my phone. I can't get it to work. So, oh, my car has internet. So I go to my car, but I'm like, okay, this is a 4-hour event. I'm not going to sit in my car with my car running. So then I go to try it at my kids' elementary school, change the password. So I go, like, I'm literally hopping. And finally, I find a place. I'm in my car. Everything's good. And then, of course, it gets dark. And so I'm like, so just about that time, somebody opened up this building, so I was able to go in and use the internet. But I'm serious. Like it's a speed dating type thing. So it's 2 minutes and I give my thing. So there's three people in the room. I have like 4 minutes to find another place. Oh, I was so distraught. And so like I was just not mentally there. And although I did get yeses, not half as many as the next day where I'm like, okay, I'm ready to go. Like I know I'm rocking this and got yeses from every single person I pitched to. And so it really is like you have to make sure that you believe in yourself and you have to make sure that you're in that space where, I deserve this and
Yeah.
I want it.
Yes, absolutely. And I love that story because there are going to be more days than not where we hit those frustrating moments of, are you kidding? Are you kidding? Are you kidding? Are you kidding? Like, why is the universe against me right now? But you had this sense of resilience and you had this ability to say, but I'm going to keep going. And that little glimpse of what's on the other side of this
Mhm.
built so much strength and courage, which so many people are like, I want to be confident. Well, great. Where does confidence comes from? Come from? It comes from the courage to take action. And so many people are so afraid to take the action, to see what's on the other side, that they never do it.
Yeah.
And so I applaud you for continuing going because you're like, I know on the other side of this, I'm going to get yeses. And you even said, and I did get a few
Mhm.
on that day where you kept having that your head run into a wall over and over and over. You did get a few yeses, right? So How can you, I loved that because you really still looked at, okay, what did good happen from this?
Mhm.
And I love to use these as like joy anchor stories is what I call them. Whenever we have to look back and remind ourselves, okay, everything went wrong that could have gone wrong, but I still got yeses. And I still showed up the next day and got a full day of yeses
Mhm.
because we get so scared to take action, whatever it is, right? Personally, professionally, mentally, emotionally, all of it. And 80% of people are scared because of rejection.
Which is crazy because you're okay. I'm going to be super vulnerable, listeners. So that's who I am. You're used to it. But I am really, really struggling because I know that there's this calling that I'm supposed to be doing. And I'm like on the cusp of it. Like, here it is. It's right here. I know. And I know what that's going to bring me if I do that. And I am having this mental struggle, like emotional. Like, I have been so emotional. I go from like angry to sad to really crying over why am I crying so much? And then it's like, I don't want to do anything. And I've never been in that space. And so it's so interesting when people are on that. Like, I know it's keeping me back. And because of that, it's keeping me even further back to where if people are afraid to launch, well, why not? Because you're, you start to erode your self-confidence, you start to get disappointed in yourself, and you start to like not be able to believe in yourself if you don't take the action. So either way, it's not a good thing. Like,
Absolutely.
you're afraid to take action, but yet you're super miserable in the state that you are because you know where you're supposed to go. Does that make sense?
Yes, and I have one question to ask you.
Yeah.
Do you feel like you are a strong individual who
Oh,
has pivoted through bad situations before?
yeah. And I think that's the thing, my life, if you've ever know me for 20 minutes. Like, it's always a struggle. There's so many issues always going on. And why? And I'm not used to having an easy life. That's just who I am, right? But this life is going to make it easy. Oh, well, So I know like there's all these
Um,
subconscious things going on in my life, in my head right now, and that I'm not going to listen to you anymore. I'm just not. It's time to take action, and this is where I'm going to go, right?
Okay, can I give you two little
Yeah,
pieces? We're going to do
absolutely.
quick coaching right here, okay? So, and if you've been through this exercise before, please tell me. But all of those thoughts, I like to give a name. So all of those thoughts, the insecurity, the fear, all of it, I like to give a name because what is fear? Fear is just stories that we're telling ourselves about the future. They have not happened yet, right? I'm sure you've heard that before. But I like to give all of that a name, and my name for all of that is Wanda. So I just say, Wanda, sit down because we have things to go do. Okay. So I would encourage you, give that a name, right? Just like we have an alter ego name. Mine is Lady Tiger. So she shows up and she is ready to rock and roll. She, almost like Beyonce, I think is oh, what is her name? Sasha Fierce, right? She literally puts on more of a confident piece of armor so she can go out and perform. And there's so much psychology behind that, but that'll just be what I give you right there is give it a name and say, okay, sit down. I know you're trying to protect me, but we're going to go see what this does. And I know that I'm strong enough to pivot if something bad is happening. The second thing that's really interesting that I was doing some research on the other day is that as we get older, we get more comfortable. And then as we, number one, number two, we get more comfortable because normally we're surrounded by things. So it kind of like warms us like a blanket, right? Either we have family, husband, wife, kids. If you aren't married or you don't have kids, maybe you have a lot of things. Maybe you're collecting things, right? Maybe you might have a just a lot around you because you want to feel comfort, right? So I call it comfort in the chaos or comfort in the discomfort, meaning because you get to a point, have you ever met someone who is just constantly complaining?
Oh, yeah.
And you're like, but can't you just take the action to get out of that? No, they can't because they find comfort in the discomfort. They've gotten to a point, you said it just a moment ago, I always struggle. I've always struggled.
Mhm.
So whether you realize it or not, that's now the narrative. That's the
Yeah.
tapestry that you've had of your life. And if this can get you out of that, that's scary
Yeah.
because
Mhm.
of two reasons. Because what if it doesn't work and
Right.
you're back where you started.
It's not working right now, so why not just take the action? That's what I'm saying.
You. That is what I call a moment of joy because you are showing yourself, you know what? I'm going to take a faith leap because there's two sides of the coin. You could go back to where you are right now, or it could all work out and you could look back and say, man, what a great podcast with Jen Gomez that really pushed me over the edge to get to the life that I'm at today, right? But I think that that all comes back to your purpose too. And having that really close relationship with yourself to say, okay, where is this fear coming from? Why do I feel like I have to be protected right now? Is this intuition telling me this is the wrong direction? Or is this just me trying to a younger version of me trying to protect myself or fear overwhelming me? And so that's where kind of the gray area comes in, and you're never going to know what it was until you take the action to see it to the other side.
Well, and if you bring religion into it, because I do believe if you have this calling or a purpose, just like you had with the joy, that if you're meant to go change people's lives for the better, I think there's a little evil devil on the shoulder trying to keep you from accomplishing that mission because he doesn't want people to be happy. And so I do believe that that's the other side of it is he's trying to do everything he possibly can to hold you back. A good example, I love your clutter situation because I have a loved one that I listed this house. We had an open house last week and it was museum perfect. She has everything the way it should be. And so this person came and did the open house for me and they're like, I would die in this house. And I'm like, why? And I know the person very well because their house is full of just mess everywhere all the time. And that's how they function. They don't feel comfortable without it. And I'm like, oh, we got to do some work there for that exact reason. So I love that you brought that up too.
Absolutely. I mean, I have family as well, and I'll be honest, vulnerable moment here. That's how I grew up. And I didn't know that I grew up in clutter. I didn't know. And so I have to have such a strong relationship with myself. I often like to say I inspire others to connect with themselves so they can have a deeper connection with others.
Mhm.
And you can look at that as an influential model for wealth creation. You could look at that as a relationship building model, but I really love it for my marriage
Mhm.
because I'm able to see when a trigger is happening. Like, okay, we all have these moments, right? Like the trash isn't taken out. That's your responsibility. You've been home for 6 hours. Why is it overflowing still? Where a woman would get up in there and be like, trash, dishes, laundry in 20 minutes.
Right.
I had to recognize that it was a trigger from me living in a house of clutter and probably never really feeling that safe. Um, but I would never correlate that ever. And it wasn't until somebody pointed it out to me saying, did you know that you lived like this? I said, I had no idea.
Yeah.
Had no idea because it was just normal, right? But now I'm able to say, this is really bothering me because this is a thing for me. And having that open communication, that's actually part of the joy method as well. Like having this open communication and trust with yourself so that you can have it with others
Mhm.
is huge. And I mean, relationships we'll get into in the next podcast episode, but it's really difficult if you have someone in a relationship either that you're in or externally, right? With a friend, with a colleague, with a boss, with that has not or does not want to do that deep work,
Yeah.
right? We've all sensed it. We've all been there. Like I'm doing the work. I'm open, I'm communicating, I'm trusting myself in this situation and they're just blocked.
Mhm.
And then we come back to what are the things you can control and what are the things you cannot control. You cannot control other people, but you can show up in a way that is radiating joy and other people will want that. And
Yeah.
you will, without even having to say it, you will influence them to want to be more vulnerable, to want to change because they'll want what you have.
I love that. And for those, I'm totally dating myself, but Ally McBeal, I don't know if you know who she is or there's a TV show and she had this. Yeah, theme song. That's what it is. And so she'd always play it if she's not feeling well or whatever. I do the same thing. You have to figure out what works for you. For me, music is everything. So I will blast. I will just tell you, The Greatest Showman. There's two or three songs that I just blast when I have to do something hard, when I have to clean the house, or when I have to do something, and not have to, but when I'm going to go do something. And I will blast that, and it completely changes my mood immediately. And I think that that's where you've got to find those little things. And I love that you talk about what can you control and what you can't, because I call it locus of control. If you cannot control it, then do not give energy to it. Move on to the something that you can. So I love that.
100% your thoughts, your words, and your actions. So music is incredible for psychological, mental redirection. Getting outside, which I mean, these things sound so easy, but again, we have comfort in the discomfort. So we just are like, well, that's not going to work. We automatically are like, well, I'm not going to go outside. I have too much work to do. Just try it. Just try it and lean into it. It's the intention behind it, right? You can lift a weight all day, but if you pretend like that weight weighs 100 pounds, you're going to lift it and feel your muscle strengthen, right? You're going to, because you're being intentional about it now. If you
Mhm.
can't tell, I also do fitness instructing. So that's what I like tell my clients. I'm like, okay, you have a 5 pound weight, pretend like it's 100 pounds. And it's a complete shift. Go outside, music, anything that you can do, take a different route to work.
Yeah.
Anything that you can do to shift what you typically do, shift the routine, so much happens.
Mhm.
Your mind, that mental clutter starts to kind of dissipate. It kind of starts to dissolve. And then you start to think, wait a minute, I'm able to creatively think more. My relationships are getting better. Like, is this really working? Yes, yes, it is.
I used to run massage schools, and so they're kind of woo-woo in terms of how important. And I love that. And they'd go hug a tree. I'm like, you guys, this is such woo-woo stuff. And they're like, Sharice, just give it a try. I'm like, oh my gosh, because you're connecting with nature. And
Yeah,
so
yeah.
it does make a difference. I 100% agree.
It's gratitude in the ordinary.
No, it's true. So I want to ask you real quick, because you said you had children. So I want you to imagine yourself sitting on a park bench, and a 9 month pregnant lady comes and walk or sits next to you, and you start talking, and you kind of think from the time that your very first pregnancy till where you are now with the age of your children. What is one piece of advice you would give her?
You are enough. You are enough. And children spell love Time.
Oh yeah.
I think we get so wrapped up in status and we think that the way our children dress or the cars that we drive or the amount of money that we have is so important because we are drilled to believe that. But the best thing that you can do for yourself and for your children is to just be there. Just be there with them because time, the vacations, like all of it is extra. All
Yeah.
of it. I think all of it is extra, but it is not going to be what makes them feel unconditional love.
Mhm.
Unconditional love is the time that you spend, and that is truly the meaning of life, is just spending your time and embracing that. And I'm going to say it again, finding the gratitude in the ordinary. And laugh at everything. If your child is, this is the best piece of advice, actually. If your child is screaming, which it will be for like a year and a half, okay? If your child is screaming, if it is just wailing and you're trying to shove it into the car seat and you're at daycare and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm a terrible mom, this thing is flailing. I
Mhm.
want you to tell your child, thank you so much for telling the world how much you love me. Just scream louder, because as loud as you scream, that means they'll know how much you love me more. And what happens there? It shifts your entire mindset to be able to embrace the moment and show up for your child, not as the get in the car, mom, but as the we're going to have fun with this because it's not that big of a deal because it's not the baby crying. It's the baby crying on top of the deadline, on top of the fight with your husband, on top of the bad relationship with your mom, on top of the dog getting out this morning, on top of, and this is what is breaking the camel's back, and you just want to scream.
And laughter is the best thing. I a really quick story. So we're headed into church. This was a long time ago. I'm holding my daughter. She was a baby, and so we're late because we always are. And so we start to like get in, and there's like a seat clear over on the other side. And so I'm like, okay. And I tell my daughter, you go over there, and she's like, I'm not gonna go. Like she wanted me to go first. I'm like, no, go, because I wanted them to be in front. She's like, no. I'm like, go right now and stuff. And so like, when you talk and you try to whisper through your mouth, and she looks at me and she just starts laughing at me. And I'm like, I'm upset. Like, you need to listen and do what I asked you to do and get over to that seat and stuff. And she just starts laughing, right? And so I look at her and we both start to laugh. And to this day, and this was 11, 12 years ago, to this day, we still laugh about that. And it's this inside joke, like, and I think that that's the part, like, it really is. It's the fun times where you can be so upset, but you're going to laugh the next day. And if you can bring the laughter into it, it completely changes everything. And who cares where we sat, right?
100%. And
So,
you're laughing about it now. Like it's going to be a memory in your tapestry forever. And
yeah.
so how can you create more of those moments? You create more of those moments by just living in the moment and laughing about it. And my son the other day, I don't know if this is allowed or not, but this my son the other day, he's 9, and for whatever reason, we were telling a story. He goes, "Hell yeah." I said, "What did you just say?" He goes, "What?" I said, "What did you just say?" He goes, "I don't remember."
That's
Which
great.
we don't talk like that. So he must have like picked it up from school. But in that moment, I could not help but laugh because it was so perfectly positioned. Like, okay, I don't know if I should be mad about this because it was actually really hilarious, but I have to reprimand him for being like, we don't talk like that. It was hilarious.
That, yep. It's just, and that is, I think, the joy that you find in your children. Like my daughter, sad story, like she's has some health issues. I'll start crying, so I won't get into it, but it's affecting her eyes. And so we go to the doctor, the eye doctor yesterday, and it's 8 in the morning. Okay. It's too early. They got to bed late the night before. And so she goes in her pajamas because I'm like, do you want me to just take you like this? She's like, yep. I said, great. And so we go. And so we sit down and the eye doctor comes in. He's like, so what brought you in today besides your mom? And she's sitting there going, my eyes. Duh. You know, she's 9 as well. Oh, she just turned 10. So it's just those cute little moments where it's like, you know what? Kids are so precious. And if you get upset at them like that, it's just not, they don't mean they don't
No.
ever want to hurt you. They just mean good. And that's why out of the mouth of children are babes, as we talk about. And so I just love those moments. And so time is such a good piece of advice. So thank you.
Yes. And so one thing that somebody told me was your children, their life mission is not to frustrate you.
Exactly.
It's not. It may feel like it. Like, why is this child out to get me?
Mhm.
But it's not. They just don't know how they're 3, they're 4, they're
Mhm.
5. They
Or
literally
25.
don't know. Or 25. They're learning and growing just like we all are. And so I think that's why it's so important to be lifelong learners, to just see how can I get to know myself better so that I can get to know others better, or influence them in a way where they can get to know themselves better. Because at the end of the day, we have one life to live. And so
Yep.
what's the life that you want to be known for?
100%. Yep. I was driving by a mortuary yesterday and I'm like, it's again, talk about it in my book, but writing your eulogy. What do you want people to say and think, and who do you want at your funeral when you die? And that to me is so morbid, but so true,
It
right?
is.
Because are you living the life that you want? That if you were to be in that coffin tomorrow, are you proud of the life that you've lived and the legacy that you've left? And if you're not, then you need to find joy, our listeners. So if our listeners wanted to find you, how would they do that?
Okay, well, you can find me on LinkedIn, Jennifer Gomez, the Joyful Strategist. You can also go to my Instagram or Facebook page. Instagram is Jen.Gomez _, also the Joyful Strategist. I do have a speaker page as well, and it's thejoyfulstrategist.com. So if you'd like for me to come in and do keynote speaking, workshops, meet with your team one-on-one, you can find more information there. But I like to connect with people one-on-one as well. So definitely Instagram, LinkedIn, or just send me an email, which is jen@thejoyfulstrategist.com.
Well, Jen, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you so much, too.
And listeners, if you are struggling, if any of this resonated with you, there is another side. Like you got to get out of it. And if you're really struggling, and if you're not really struggling, but you just need to talk to someone, then reach out to Jen because she will bring joy back to your life and purpose. So my name is Charisse Walker again. And if you like this, then please share and subscribe and go out and make it a great day.
Bye. Thank you so much.
Beautiful moms, remember, you are unbreakable. Keep illuminating the world with your strength, pursuing your dreams, and reveling in the splendor of motherhood. This is Charisse Walker, bidding you farewell for now. Stay tuned for more empowering conversations on the next episode of the Unbreakable Mompreneurs podcast. Until then, keep shining bright. Signing off with love, Charisse Walker.